Okay. Many years ago, probably about 23 or so years ago, people started to arrive at my old studio for a night of wisdom chanting. And one of the regular people comes up to me with a new person and wants to introduce them to me. And introductions occur. Welcome, I say. And the person says to me, I just want to let you know I'm very skeptical about chanting. I am not familiar with this at all, and I would have never chosen to do this on my own accord. I just want to let you know that I'm here because, I'm with my friend. I said, oh, well, welcome. It'd be so nice to have you here. And so in the flow of wisdom chanting, the first hour and a half would be where I would verse by verse invite everybody into the chant so they could learn how to chant it. We would do that for the first hour and a half. And I could see the new person that was skeptical and didn't really believe in all this woo-woo spiritual chanting thing. And you could see that they were very uncomfortable. And as the first half of our wisdom chanting night unfolded, and then we would go on a restroom break, and then once everybody returned from the restroom break, we would enter into the chant. So everybody has arrived back from the restroom break, and we're all seated together, and we begin the chant. And we would always start with a very slow tempo, and it would build and build and build. And we would chant for about 45 minutes to an hour. About, probably 30, 35 minutes into the chant, when the tempo's really picking up and we're starting to rock the Shakti house. This phrase that I've been saying for decades goes all the way back to those days, because we would rock the Shakti house. Well, at that point, Shakti's so big, so powerful. All of a sudden, in the back right corner of the room from where I would sit during the wisdom chanting, there was this loud crashing noise. So I looked over there expecting to see the bookshelf that was in that corner toppled over. It sounded like the whole bookshelf crashed. And I expected to look over there and see it, toppled over. And to my surprise, it was not toppled over. And there wasn't even anything noticeable when I looked over there in that corner that was in any way different than when we began the chant. And yet there was a very loud noise. Now, I didn't know for sure. Was I the only one that heard this noise? You never know for sure with these kind of things. But I noticed many people did have kind of like a startle response. So I was pretty sure that some had heard it, but wasn't sure. So the chant starts to slow back down. We come to completion, and then we would sit in the alive vibration after the chant. I would always share with everybody that when we chant like this together, we're creating a Shakti field that expands and expands and expands out from where we are all gathered together inside this building, my old studio, and it emanates out in all directions, permeating all reality, this Shakti field. So we would sit in the alive vibration of that after we chanted. So we had that part of the wisdom chanting flow, and then I would ring some chimes very slowly 3 times to indicate that whenever anybody was ready, they could open their eyes, and then we would open it up for sharing. So all those things happened. So we're now at the part of the sharing, and as soon as I'd open it up for sharing, somebody said, "First of all, I just want to ask, did anybody else hear that loud crashing noise behind me?" Because the person that was speaking, she was over in that area of the room. And I said, "Yeah, I heard it too." And she said, "I wonder what that was." And I said, "Hey, let's go look and see." So we all got up, walked over to the corner, and in front of the bookshelf was a paper bag about a foot from the shelf itself. There was about a 1-foot gap between where the bookshelf ended and where the paper bag was on the floor. And I said, "Oh, this is new." And someone else said, "Oh, I brought some books in to your lending library. You know how you always say that your lending library has turned into a giving library?" And I saw last wisdom chanting that your bookshelf was getting a little low. So I brought in a bunch of books and I placed them on the bookshelf. I said, "Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you so much." She said, when I took the last book out of the bag, I forgot to, move the bag. So she was about to pick up the bag and move it. I said, "Wait, before we touch anything. So you're saying that you took all of the books out of the bag?" She said, "Oh yeah, I took all of the books out of the bag." "And you put them all on the shelf?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, now let's look in the bag." And we all, one by one peered in there and noticed there was a book in the bag. And so everybody was asking her, "Are you sure you took?" She said, "Oh yeah, I'm sure. I took all of the books out of the bag." So there were some skeptics. The skeptical mind needs proof. She said, "No, I promise. I took all of the books out. I just forgot to fold up the bag and put it, away." But there was a book in the bag. And I said, "Okay, who would like to be the one to retrieve the book?" And the person that had heard the sound, she said, "I would love to see what the book is." Now remember, the paper bag is about 1 foot away from the bookshelf. So we were all noticing somehow a book got from the bookshelf into that bag, and that's the sound we heard, that loud noise that was way louder than the sound of a book landing in a bag. It sounded like the whole bookshelf crashed. It was a big Shakti explosion. So we were all just amazed. How did a book, it would have had to fly. If it just fell, somebody even simulated that. Somebody pushed a book off of the top shelf where it just fell off and it landed, before the bag. Due to gravity, it can't fly that extra foot and get in the bag. So we're all just like, can't wait to see what is the book that has flown out of all the books. What is the book that has flown off of the shelf and landed in the bag and made that big exploding noise that we all heard? So the woman that had brought it up, she reached into the bag. She looked at it, gasped, and then showed us the title of the book in the bag. And the title of the book that had flown off the shelf and landed in the bag was The Mysticism of Sound and Music by Hazrat Inayat Khan. She handed it to me, and I showed it to the new person, the friend, who at the beginning of the night had announced that she was skeptical about this whole chanting thing. She just started cracking up, belly laughing. She said, "Wait till you hear what happened for me when that bang, that exploding noise happened." So we all went back and sat down in our little spots. We would sit in concentric rings. I didn't have it as like a rows of seats. We would sit in rings, concentric rings, all of us gathered together in circles. We all went and sat back down, and I had the book there, and I propped it up in front of the harmonium so everybody could see the book with its beautiful cover art. Oh, just so exquisite. And by the way, the person that brought in the books, that was not one of the books that she brought in. So that had to have already been on the bookshelf. I don't even know. I had never even heard of that book. So someone else must have put that book on the bookshelf, because that was something people would do, is they would bring in books and put them on the bookshelf. There was actually 4 bookshelves. There was that one in the room we would chant in, and there was 3 other bookshelves in another room, in another part of the studio. And all of those were all part of the lending library that I had at the old studio. So she said to all of us when we saw which book it was, she says, "By the way, this is not one of the books I brought today. I've never even heard of this book before." And so the person that was skeptical, the new friend that said she didn't really believe in all this spiritual chanting, woo-woo, mumbo-jumbo, she said, "During the first half of the evening, I just felt so unworthy. All of you were picking up the chant so quickly. It seemed so easy for all of you. I was so embarrassed. I felt so terrible. Felt so out of place. I wanted to just get up and leave, but I didn't want to, betray my friend who brought me, asked me to come with." So we went on the restroom break, and I was considering sneaking out, but I stayed with it. I'm so glad I did, because as the chant began, little by little, I started to feel what you talk about, the Shakti field expanding and expanding. I could feel that in my body. Now, I still didn't know the words, and so I just listened. I wasn't chanting, I was just listening and letting myself receive. And I could feel the vibration of the Shakti field expanding and expanding and expanding. And when that crashing noise happened, there was an explosion in my heart. This is when she started crying during her sharing. She said, I'm getting a little sentimental as I'm sharing, remember this as well. She said, there was an explosion in my heart. And I realized that my skepticism was simply a way that I had used my whole life to protect myself from being vulnerable. And when that explosion happened in my heart, I could feel the love that had been so closed in and protected and guarded within me, flowing out in all directions. And I realized that chanting is inherently pure magic. Those were her words for it. It's pure magic. And so she said, I want to read that book. And so I got up from where I was seated behind the harmonium and picked up the book that I had propped up in front of the harmonium for everyone to be able to see and gave it to her. So I don't have that book anymore. So I never got a chance to read it. But when I saw it, it was so familiar to me. And I had forgotten about this until today. Someone that she and I explored together earlier today, in which we had a very powerful and lovely exploration of the true nature of reality. She audio texted me just now. And in her audio text, she said to me, Mitch, have you ever had an experience where you are reading a book and it feels very familiar to you? She said in her audio text, I know that we all are chitti, so in the largest perspective, of course, we all have created all of this. And yet, if we look at the specificity of a lived human experience, it feels like, even though I'm only about 3 pages into the book, that I know this. Just by holding it, it's as if the whole wisdom contained within this book is available to me just by holding this book. Mitch, have you ever experienced anything like this? And so her sweet audio text brought me back to this moment all those years ago when our lovely new person arrived, entrenched in the skeptical mind, needing proof that there was great power in sound, rhythms, chanting, the harmonies, the melodies. This is the nature of the skeptical mind. And the book flew off of the bookshelf, and it wasn't even one of the ones that the person that had brought in that bag full of books had brought with her that evening. In every moment, we can notice if our skeptical mind, which is an aspect of problem solver mind, skeptical mind needs proof, a certificate of authenticity, something that can be quantified and measured and verified and confirmed. Well, that night, the crashing noise that we all experienced exploded her heart wide open, and she realized there is great power. There is mysticism in sound and music. This has been known by the ancient lineages for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years.